Welcome to the Ballbusters broadcast. I am the host who knows stuff, Daniel Christos. This show will begin in just a moment.
You're listening to the Ballbusters podcast. We now return to Ballbusters podcast, already in violation.
This is Dr. Peter Glidden, and as he'll say, your steadfast advocate for health, 34 years worth of naturopathic wisdom that he shares on riseupintohealth.com. And if you look for the affiliate link in the description, you'll be able to get there with a little bit of incentive. So, sir, it's been a while. It's been a couple of months, I would say, since the last time we talked, and I had a lot of notes that I put together because of the things that people have been asking me and the stuff that we've been covering. Kind of like when it comes to nutrition, one question leads to another a lot, and it's it's always trying to chase down the root cause. If it's a deficiency here, or if it's doing something else over there.
Let me just say something about that real quick. It's a point that's well taken, and here's why that's a problem. Because number one, we haven't had a free medical market, so conventional medical doctors have no training, no experience, no appreciation, no respect of medical nutrition, and so people are left to their own devices. So everybody does a Google search, and they go to health coaches, and one person will say go north, another person says go south. Meanwhile, the profession that's trained in this medically, that has clinical experience with this, that actually have doctoral degrees, licensed and regulated, with those people, nobody talks to those people, and the only reason is because nobody knows about it.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point as well. You have to kind of seek this out because it's just a natural inclination to say, "Oh, call the doctor." What do people say? What do people mean when they say the doctor? They're talking about an MD. Naturopaths, you have homeopaths, you have holistic, which I think is kind of the same umbrella, and then you have the chiropractic and Ayurvedic. Like, there's so many other ways to address the problem.
Which begs the question, who died and made the FDA king?
Right. And actually, I think there's a video that you posted of who died and made the FDA and the World Health Organization king.
And it's that we've been so deep down this rabbit hole for over 100 years now. I mean, nobody that's alive now remembers what it's like before the medical monopoly, because nobody was alive then. And so people have grown up inside of this big juggernaut, monopolized medical machine. And everybody's become socialized to believe, well, if my medical doctor doesn't know how to fix it, nobody can. And everybody except the medical doctor is the back of the bus quack. It's nonsense. And yet it is the meme that is chewing away in the back of everybody's brain.
Yeah, so it's the prevailing theme for sure.
I'm very happy to be here with you, trying to dissect this for people, because honest to God, people need to know, desperately need to know what myself and my colleagues know. We don't have the be-all, end-all, cure-all for all human ills, but we have a very sophisticated approach towards medicine, which is extremely useful and extremely important.
And I would say extremely natural and healthy when you consider the alternatives, which apparently are the only way, according to them. So, if I may jump into it, these aren't gonna be probably in the best order for that, so that one leads into the other, because I was just jotting down as it came to my mind, but like psychiatric medicines, antipsychotics, things like Seroquel, and the relation to things like Crohn's disease. Your intestines are rotting away while you're still alive, basically. What are some of the side effects of these types of psychiatric meds? Besides just being completely detached from the world and having kind of like an empathy to or an apathy to things. Like what other long term down the road side effects are you gonna see from those types of medications?
Well, excuse me, I have to turn my phone off. Appreciate that. Sorry, I'm sorry we
Yeah,
had an interruption there.
no problem.
Okay, all right, very good. So, so the answer to that question is do a web search for any of the antipsychotic drugs and read the list of side effects. You will be horrified.
Hmm.
And more importantly than that is the fact that these drugs are not intended to cure the problem. These drugs are only intended to manage the problem. So people who are on psychoactive meds are basically zombified, for lack of a better word, for the rest of their life. And this is what constitutes the best medicine in the world, because the psychiatrist who prescribes this nonsense is of the belief that the human body is a bag of biochemicals waiting to break. Consciousness is a function of biochemistry. And so when consciousness is messed up, the only way that you can manage it is to manipulate the biochemistry. So you give psychoactive, really strong drugs that have overarching effects on the central nervous system, turning people into living zombies. And at least they're not going to kill themselves, though, or at least they're not going to be depressed, or at least they'll stop talking to themselves in the mirror. And, this is supposed to be really good medicine. The halls of homeopathic medicine are adorned with thousands of successful treatments of psychiatric cases. And the medicines that the homeopaths bring to bear on these situations are intended to cure the condition, intended to fix the problem. The intention always with the holistic method, whether it's Ayurvedic or homeopathic or naturopathic or acupuncture, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
The intention with these types of medicine always and every time is to attempt to cure the condition. The intention with the psychiatric drug, or quite frankly, most pharmaceuticals, is to manage the problem.
Suppress it, basically.
Basically,
Kind of.
right.
Yeah.
So the heartburn is never cured. It's managed. It's suppressed.
Right.
And so how successful do you think the medical team that doesn't know what causes heartburn is and has no idea how to cure heartburn, how successful do you think those people are going to be at helping somebody who's suicidal, who's
Right.
schizophrenic? Or quite frankly, let's be more mundane, who has arthritis or who has high blood pressure, who has heart disease.
Right. And
They're
like
not going to be able to do it because it's not in their gestalt.
and with things like anxiety and depression, that could be nutritional deficiencies as well, right?
100%.
Something as simple as that.
That's
Not
the
requiring
first thing to consider. And that's the first thing to consider. There's a saying in at least this type of rational medicine that when you hear hoofbeats, you think about horses before you think about zebras. So you think about the most common things that cause things before you think about weird things that cause things.
Occam's razor type of thing. Simple answer.
The simplest answer is often the answer.
Right.
And the first thing to consider with any chronic illness, and by any chronic illness, I mean any chronic illness, whether it's a physical, a mental, or an emotional illness, is dietary stress. That people are unwittingly eating all the wrong food all the time.
Right.
And or chronic, undiagnosed, unrecognized nutrient deficiencies. The body has simply run out of the stuff that it needs to fix itself, and then
The raw materials are gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So where do you place the importance of? I'm gonna kind of group them together, kind of like strategically here, but copper, zinc, and magnesium, and I guess you could throw in calcium too. But
Well, of all of those, calcium is by far the most important. And most important because it's hands down the most abundant mineral in the human body. Oh, your skeleton, right? It's made from calcium. Your nerve conduction is regulated by calcium.
that's
Hormone
interesting.
regulation by calcium. The beating of the heart by calcium. Calcium has everything to do with everything in the body. And it's a really, really, really easy nutrient to become deficient in. because it's a mineral. All of the things that you mentioned were minerals: calcium, zinc, selenium, copper. They're all minerals. And the problem with minerals is that animals can't make minerals. Plants can't make minerals, right? The only way that minerals get into the body is if they're in the soil that the food is growing in, and the plant sucks it up, and then we eat the plant and we get the mineral. Or we eat the animal that ate the plant and we get the mineral. But the minerals are not in the soil. And as reported to Congress in the 1930s
Wow.
by the United States Department of Agriculture, the mineral content in the soil is alarmingly low. And that was in the 30s, and it hasn't gotten any better. So as far as I am concerned, and I am correct in this I can guarantee you that what I'm about to say is 100% accurate. Everybody on planet Earth is deficient in minerals. Everybody on planet Earth is deficient in minerals, and is having a remarkably negative impact on their health.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That kind of brings us to the source over in Utah and longevity and those types of plant-derived trace minerals, the colloidal minerals. When you say calcium, there's quite a few things that can strip calcium from you, or the deficiency in one thing can make it dump into your bloodstream. Am I right about that?
Yes, and this is an important point to ponder, because number one, we all have to understand and agree to the fact that, the Earth is round. Okay, the Earth isn't flat. Okay, let's all agree to that. Okay, gravity is real. Okay, let's all agree to that. Very good. Physicists have no idea what causes electricity. Okay, let's all agree to that. And everybody is minerally deficient. Okay, let's agree to that. Everybody's minerally deficient. So the next question, therefore, is, well, what are we going to do about that, and how are we going to fix that? And most doctors in the world, again, and this brought to you from the Department of Redundancy Department, is because of the medical monopoly that only that only trains allopaths and MDs. And so medical doctors who get frustrated with conventional medicine start to get their feet wet in holistic medicine. But the problem is, and they take functional medicine courses where they're taught, ironically and tragically, to use vitamins the same way that they use drugs. So this leads to a practice that I have coined as fractionated nutrition.
Fractionated nutrition.
So you get boatloads of vitamin C, intravenous, gram doses of vitamin C. Or
sounds like Linus Pauling there, right?
100%. And Linus Pauling died from a copper deficiency because all of the vitamin C that he was sucking into his body or taking into his body sucked the copper right out.
Wow.
Unintended consequences because he was thinking like an allopath. When you are considering a clinical application of medical nutrition, you have to think holistically, because the body doesn't just need three things, copper, calcium, and magnesium, right? The body needs 90 things. Of those 90 things, 60 are minerals. The body needs 60 minerals. There are 60 essential minerals that the body needs, but it cannot make. And so it's smarter, better, and more clinically effective to give all of them than to just piecemeal it out and keep your fingers crossed and hope for the best.
Yeah, and when we get to vitamin supplementation, there's a really poor absorption rate for most of them. Is that right?
Well, it's an excellent point. And the answer is that, number one, the recommended daily allowances, the way that figured out,
way low, right?
It's laughable how they figured that out. Number one. And number two, you're going to tell me that a 25-year-old athlete who weighs 180 pounds, who has a really high metabolic rate and a 5% body fat, is going to need the same amount of vitamins, be able to absorb the same amount of vitamins as a 350-pound 70-year-old couch potato? You're going to tell me that they need the same amounts? No,
right.
They don't. Number one. And number two, there is no Star Trek, regretfully, USS Enterprise, med table that we can put somebody on It lets us know exactly what their nutritional status is and how much of this vitamin and how much of this mineral and how much of this fatty acid they need. And more to the point, how efficiently their body's going to absorb it. They have no idea what that is. It's the Wild West. Nobody has any idea. And different people absorb nutrients differently. It's like my father.
Yeah. Oh, that's
my father could drink a cup of coffee at 10 o'clock and be asleep at 10:30 because he had a really slow absorption. If I drink a cup of coffee after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm not getting to sleep that night because I have very high absorption. We're two completely different human beings, even though we have the same gene code, right? Or at least half of the same gene code.
Right.
So the absorption thing is a big thing. And the holistic aspect is an even bigger thing. So, and one of the reasons that people who follow my advice often get such remarkable results relative to other types of holistic medicine is because I recommend trust the wisdom of the body. Your body knows how much it needs. Your body knows what to do. So give the body everything that it needs, and the body will figure it out, sort it out, and you're good to go. The only thing that people need to mess around with is the dose.
All right.
So I recommend people start at a particular dosage based on their body weight. They do that for a couple of months, and then they crank it up for a couple of months or crank it down for a couple of months and see if they notice a difference. Often people will.
So with the plant-derived trace minerals or the colloidal minerals, I'm like 150 pounds, give or take, maybe 155, depending on the day. I was taking, well, it was basically the equivalent of the cap on the longevity in some water, and that seemed to be just about right. I mean, I can't say that I would know what right would be, but it seemed like it was, it just seemed like it was doing whatever it was supposed to do. I have no idea how much of each of those things is in the longevity, or if it's even ever like the same, because it's coming from a source, and you can't really.
Well, you can't, but more or less we're ballparking it, right? And so,
yeah.
So one cap for somebody your size, and I'm assuming metabolic rate just by looking at you, would most probably be sufficient to the cause. But what I would do as an in-house experiment for 21 days in a row is do one capful twice a day.
Okay, twice a day. Okay.
Yeah, and just for 21 days, and see if you notice a difference. And this is the hard job though with the holistic method, because I mean, you can concentrate really hard, and you wouldn't be able to feel your hair grow.
Right.
But your hair is growing. You could concentrate really hard, and you wouldn't be able to feel your body making new bones. But your body's making new bone tissue. It has the raw materials to do it. So often, when we apply a medical nutrition strategy, I mean, unless somebody has like severe debilitating pain or high blood pressure and they have to measure it every day, the changes that are invoked by the medical nutrition are slow.
Slow and gradual, which makes it even tougher to identify.
Tougher to identify. Yeah, that's why we recommend people do it, a health diary, a symptom index every couple of days, write down how they feel and give it a numerical grade. And I can't tell you how many times people have sat in my office on the second visit. And, the first visit they came in, there's 7 things that are wrong with them, right?
Yeah.
And, they've got headaches, they got heartburn, they got insomnia, they got restless legs at night in bed, and something else. And so they sit down 4 weeks after the initial visit, after they've been on the program, and say, well, how are you feeling? And they say, well, doc, I don't know. I smell these headaches are killing me. And I ask them, well, what about the heartburn? What about the restless legs at night? What about the insomnia? They look at me like a deer in the headlights. Oh, I forgot I even had them.
Right.
Right? Because it's slow and steady wins the race, and this is the magic of the medical nutrition method. But if you're mindful enough, you should be able to notice a difference if you up the intensity with the supplement.
I imagine, like, if you have like fatigue issues or bone and muscle weakness or pain, then that would be one of those things. It would be an easier marker as far as whether or not you're progressing with that. But if you're already pretty healthy, I guess it's just a good way to maintain it too. Because I know for myself, I go to the gym almost every day, every other day, and I put an honest effort into it. So I'm not sure if that means I should be taking a certain type of regimen before and after to replenish, because I'm sure I'm losing a lot when I go there. The crash afterwards, the fatigue. I try not to eat too much before or after either, because I just don't think that's the way it works. I think it's a lot. I think your body and metabolism moves a lot slower than what they let on. So you don't need to overload yourself in those times just before or just after.
Well, so there's a couple things to talk about in that regard. Number one, there's a big difference between being fit and being healthy.
Right. Absolutely.
All you have to do is look at the college athletes and the high school athletes and the professional athletes who are fit as a fiddle and they die of a heart attack.
Yeah.
Where they snap their tendon because, the wind blows the wrong way, right?
Yep.
They have a heart illness. And so there's a big difference between being physically fit and being healthy, number one. Number two, there's two types of stress in the world. There's negative stress, and that's the stress that everybody thinks about when they think about the word stress. But there's also positive stress, like exercise.
Mm-hmm.
The intention of exercise is to stress the parts of the body that you're working out, and then after exercise, the body will make the parts that you just stressed stronger.
Yeah.
So you rip the muscle fiber, the body makes it stronger. You exercise the heart becomes stronger. You exercise the lungs develop a greater capacity, and the same with the blood flow and the blood vessels. But the body needs raw materials to upregulate all of those systems that you've just positively stressed with exercise. So I've always said, because it's true, exercise without nutrition is suicide, and exercise with nutrition is superwoman.
Yeah. I pretty much eat eggs and tuna. That's pretty much my whole diet. So I mean, at least I'm getting the cholesterol that I need to make the hormones.
You should be salting your food with
I dumped the Himalayan salt on it for sure.
Yeah,
I'm a saltaholic.
So I would if you're a gym rat like that on a regular basis, then I would do an ounce of minerals and an ounce of calcium before you exercise.
Okay, and what kind of calcium would you? The OsteoFX, that's pretty high absorption.
I've been doing this for 34 years, and just to let the listening audience know here, I've been a licensed naturopathic doctor for 34 years now, and in 34 years, I've had experience with a lot of different nutritional supplement companies. I mean, I used to work for a nutritional supplement company that only sold stuff to doctors. You can't even get their stuff as a layperson.
No.
And in my opinion, the nutritional supplements that are better, the where you can get the most bang for your buck is with the longevity.
Dr. Joel Wallach, is he still affiliated with that? I mean,
he is. But it's important for your listeners to know that I'm not. I don't make any money from the sale of the longevity supplements. I'm not a longevity corporate member. I don't have stock in longevity. I have nothing to do with the company except appreciation from a distance.
Gotcha.
So,
that's important. That's important to know.
Not all wine is the same, right? I mean, all wine is made from grapes. But there's a big difference. It's the same with nutritional supplements, and so I would, if I were a member of the listening audience, I would slam these doors and kick these tires. I would do it through the link on your website.
Do they still call it the pig pack for the osteo?
Yeah, no, they used to. That was back in the day when the FDA was really getting in the way, and that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
So they call it the Healthy Foundation Pack. The
Healthy Foundation Pack. All right. And maybe we can kind of scale this mountain now. Something's been happening with my wife lately. She, for the longest time, has had really painful menstrual cycles, lots of issues with that, lots of ups and downs, heavy bleeding and stuff like that. And then we hear about the titanium dioxide issue with the tampons. And that's where we started. She went to the cup. She's trying to avoid titanium dioxide. She says it's helping her a lot. But also, I happened to catch an old, probably 25-year-old Dr. John Lee video about progesterone cream and how it has to be which is bioidentical in order for it to be
Correct.
the right stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe help us understand that?
Well, okay, so if you are a woman and all of your plumbing is intact, your uterus and your ovaries are there, they haven't been yanked by the knucklehead medical doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and you are suffering with ailments revolving around your menstrual cycle, whether it's physical ailments, mental ailments, or emotional ailments, or all three
Mm-hmm.
wrapped up around your menstrual cycle, then hormone supplementation is the last thing that you should consider. Because the fundamental idea here is that your body knows how to fix itself, your body wants to fix itself, your body's trying to fix itself, but it needs a little help. The only people, in my opinion, that are candidates for hormone supplementation and bioidentical hormone supplementation is way superior to synthetic hormone supplementation. I'll talk about that in a second. But the only women that are actual candidates for that are women who've had their plumbing removed, like the ovary yanked, or complete hysterectomy or partial hysterectomy or whatever, because their bodies those organs aren't there anymore, so they can't make the hormones that their body needs, and so they need to get the hormones in, extracurricularly. But if that's not the case, then the first thing to consider is, number one, the person is unwittingly eating food that's pro-inflammatory. They don't know it.
Lots of sugar she eats.
Like putting diesel fuel in an unleaded engine.
All right.
And number two, the body has run out of essential nutrients. So the first thing that I do with all my female patients who are suffering from anything having to do with menstrual troubles is we do the 1 bottle of Beyond Tangy Tangerine powder per month.
Beyond Tangy.
Yeah, Tangy Tangerine 2.5 powder. 2 bottles of the plant minerals. 2 bottles of the Beyond Osteo FX liquid. 2 bottles of the Projoba Omega fish oil per month. And that's it.
Per month. Okay.
Yeah, we do that. And now, when we do that for 1 month, and we look to see what happens to the severity, intensity of the symptoms.
So does that fish oil have the resveratrol in it, like a cod liver oil would?
No. Now, if you live in the northern hemisphere in winter, then cod liver oil would be superior. And the brand that I like the best is called Rositas, Rositas, Rositas cod liver oil. They do a better job than anybody else.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the first thing to do. And usually when we intervene with nutrition like that, the symptomology gets dramatically different. Sometimes it's 80% better, sometimes 100%, sometimes 80, sometimes 50, but there's an improvement usually. And then depending on what symptomology is left, right, whatever is left after we do the medical nutrition intervention, that's when we bring in homeopathic medicine, the homeopathic treatment.
So are those raw materials being built up to create the hormones again? Is that what we're replacing with that type of treatment?
Yes, and the idea is that the body knows how to have a healthy menstrual cycle.
Right.
And it's not, having a menstrual cycle is not an illness.
Right.
Nor should it be. And so if you're having trouble in that department,
and it shouldn't be dangerous for everybody else in the house either.
Yeah, that's a point that's well taken. Now, in the wonderful world of holistic medicine, I would bet that homeopathy that would be my second go-to, or sometimes I do it in tandem with the medical nutrition. But homeopathy has a wonderful track record of helping women with mental and emotional and physical symptoms of the menstrual cycle. But when you add the homeopathy on the back of the medical nutrition, everything works much better.
So when you say homeopathy, I mean, what is that?
So homeopathy is a separate and distinct system of medicine that was developed in Germany in the 1800s.
Samuel Christian Hahnemann, that guy?
That's the guy.
Okay.
And it's extremely, the royal physician to the Queen of England is a homeopath. There's tens of thousands of homeopathic practitioners in India. It's a gigantic medicine in India. And in the United States, it's basically quack medicine, pseudoscience, and it doesn't work. At least that's what the Food and Drug Administration says. That's what every medical doctor with a license will tell you. And they're all full of crap. They're all 100% wrong. But it is a separate and distinct system of medicine. And in order to be effective at homeopathy, it's no different than being effective at surgery or effective at acupuncture. You have to be trained in it. You have to have clinical experience in it. And the longer that you do it, the more effective you become at it. So, or like chiropractic. I mean, I'm of the opinion that a good chiropractor is worth their weight in gold.
Okay.
But the trouble is finding a good chiropractor, right?
Right.
Trouble is finding a good lawyer, finding a good plumber, finding a good anybody, right?
The service industry is fraught with people who don't know too much.
This is triply so when it comes to homeopathy because it's really, I'm not going to say difficult, but I'll tell you, I've been doing homeopathy for 34 years, and I'm just starting to get good at it.
That's a testament to the precision that's required.
But it's a wonderful medicine. And if we had a free medical market, homeopathy would have been the first, second, and third thing that was rolled out for COVID.
And that's when you give something that's a like object or produces the same response as the illness to kind of trick the body into going into its response mode.
Well, we don't know if we're not really sure of the method, but homeopathy is based on 5 laws. And the law that everybody gets hooked on, the law that is most important in homeopathy is called the law of similars. So the law of similars argues that in order to help a person who is sick, you have to deliver a medicine which, when given to a healthy person, produces exactly the same set of symptoms that the sick person is experiencing. Mm-hmm. And when you find that medicine, which is called the simillimum, it's the treatment bullseye, right?
Yeah.
And deliver it, it's the response is almost instantaneous, and the body recovers its state of balance. This is a very important point to ponder here. Holistic medicine, well, conventional medicine argues that illness is a separate nosological entity. Illness is like a bird that's sitting on somebody's shoulder. And it's the job of the doctor to develop a medicine that knocks the bird off of the shoulder. And the medicines which are delivered are all they're all oppositionally defiant, right? You get an antibiotic, an anti-inflammatory, an antidepressant, an antihypertensive, an inhibitor of some sort.
It's like the war model. Everything's at odds.
100%. And the illness is seen as a separate and distinct thing from the human being. But it's not. I mean, and I can prove that to you right now. Would you like me to?
Yes.
Okay. If you'd be so kind, for Christmas, could you please send me a case of Chateau Neuf du Pape 2008 from France?
Something tells me it's pretty expensive.
But you could do it if you wanted to. You could send me 12 oranges, right? 12 organic oranges if I asked you to. You could send me 12 pencils if you wanted to, or, a suit that was 42 long. You could do that. But can you send me a baker's dozen of asthma?
A baker's dozen of asthma?
Yeah. Could you do that?
No, I could not do that.
How about 10 pounds of rheumatoid arthritis? Could you do that?
Nope, it's not a tangible thing.
That's right. It's not a tangible thing, but we have been socialized to think that it is a tangible thing. It's like the bird that sits on somebody's shoulder. So an illness to a holistic physician is an untuning of the vital force of the human body. And what's the vital force? The vital force is that which brings light to your eyes, which brings light to your dreams, and which is running the show. It is unrecognized spiritual force which existed before you were born and which will persist after death. The vital force is what's running the show, and when the body dies, the vital force leaves the body, and it's the same biochemistry of the body, a second after death as it was a second before, but once the vital force leaves the body starts to decay. So the vital force is what's running the show. And when the vital force becomes untuned by stress, the body develops a symptom. Now you go to a medical doctor, and the medical doctor will medicate the symptom because they think the symptom is separate and distinct from what you are. But the symptom is what you are. You are the symptom. Your body is generating whatever it's generating, whether it's high blood pressure or a migraine headache or a rheumatoid arthritic right knee or a tumor in your pancreas or whatever the hell it is. Your body is generating that symptom because the vital force has been untuned. Mm-hmm. And every holistic physician in the world attempts to retune the vital force. Because when you retune the vital force, the illness disappears. So chiropractors do that one way, acupuncturists do it another way, traditional Chinese medical doctors do it another way, Ayurvedic practitioners do it another way. Homeopaths do it by virtue of something called the law of similars. And in my experience of over 3 decades now, if we're comparing apples to apples here, like if I had a serious condition, how would I want it treated? Homeopathy. 100% homeopathy. It's a remarkable system of medicine. And when you apply homeopathy on the back of medical nutrition, yeah, it's a home run most of the time.
Now, are there certain things that, like, say, chiropractic care would be pretty much the starting point because there could be a nerve that's pinched by a disc or something that...
Well, there's always, lots of different stress in life.
Right.
Often there's physical stress, right? Overt physical stress that you experience just by walking around and moving and standing up and sitting down and don't even get me started about sports.
Yeah.
So it's easy for the physical frame of the body to be misaligned by trauma. I mean, even if it's not hospitalizing trauma, just, trauma to the body, right. Force to the body. So when the body becomes misaligned structurally because of physical stress, a lot of things start to get funky because everything's connected.
Yeah.
And when the physical frame isn't right, that's going to have a lot of trickle down reactions to the body, and there isn't a homeopathic medicine that's going to, set a broken bone or fix a subluxation, which is why chiropractic is such a remarkably effective medicine when it's indicated. I mean, yeah. No kidding. If you find a good homeopath, a good chiropractor, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to them tooth and nail, because you're going to benefit from it tremendously.
Yeah, it saddened me when I was talking to Dr. Brian Artis, and I had a brother who passed away 2 months and 2 weeks, and it was SIDS, and there's apparently very few causes for that, but one of them would be a misalignment of the atlas vertebrae, and that would, control the breathing. The other one could be all the little needles they try to put in you, but... I mean,
this is why we desperately need a free medical market.
That knowledge should be available to everybody.
To everybody. And in a free medical market, people get to choose.
Right.
And I've always said this, again, because it's true, that if by some genie in the bottle magic we woke up tomorrow and there were just as many naturopaths and homeopaths and Ayurvedic practitioners and chiropractors, and we all had hospital privileges and we all had equal insurance privileges, and universities did 50% of their research on holistic stuff and 50% on pharmaceutical stuff. If that was all true, tomorrow, in 2 years, medical doctors who didn't practice trauma care or surgery would be out of a job. Because in a free medical market, people gravitate towards what works. And if you have a bullet in your arm, heaven forbid, or a broken bone or a bleeding artery, then get thee to the MD, because that's what they're good for. One of my best friends is a retired orthopedic surgeon. He was very famous. Sometimes you need surgery. And when you need surgery, ain't nothing but surgery going to fix it. But most of the time, for most of the conditions that most people go to the doctor for most of the time, the allopathic method is not only not going to work, well, it's not going to cure anything. It'll produce results, but the results will make you weaker, sicker, and more dependent on the drugs for the rest of your life. And it's a crap show. The most important thing that people can do, in my opinion, is to educate themselves right now about alternatives to conventional medicine, which are licensed and regulated and available, and start investigating them. Remove yourself from the conventional medical mousetrap as soon as possible, because it's killing.
You know, the very basic and one that people can probably relate to as far as an example of treatments making you worse, and then, you know, the dependency is like a cortisone shot. You can only do that so many times before it eats away like muscle tissue and bone and makes everything bad. But you want it badly because it's the only thing that seems to stop the pain for a little while, so that you can, you know, deal with your life rather than figure out what's causing it.
If you took cortisone and antibiotics away from medical doctors, they wouldn't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
Honest to God, everybody gets some type of steroid, non-steroidal, anti-inflammatory. Everybody gets it all of the time. And the intention of that is to just dampen down the pain, dampen down the inflammation. We don't care what causes it. We don't know what causes it. Oh, it must be genetic. We'll know next year after we do $1 billion more research. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And, you know, I got to tell you, man, we've been we've gone down this rabbit hole so far that even when conventional medicine fails people, even when it bankrupts people, and by the way, it's the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States is medical bills. Which
makes it probably also the leading cause of divorce, because with divorce and, you know, with bankruptcy comes divorce usually.
100%. And, oh yeah, the leading cause of death. Even when that happens, I mean, somebody's, you know, mother or sister or brother or father gets cancer while they were under the care of the medical doctor, number one. And then the medical doctor recommended treatments which were really expensive. You had to mortgage your house to pay for the treatment. And not only did the treatments fail, but the treatments completely ruined the quality of life of that human being in the last year and a half of their life. Completely ruined it.
That's what happened to my aunt. Mm-hmm.
Completely ruined it. And instead of people being pissed off by that, instead of people saying, what are you talking about, man? This was a what? Instead of people saying that, they organize a 5K run.
Give them more money.
$20,000 and give it to the people who failed them in the first place. That's how far down this rabbit hole we've gone, and it's got to stop.
And that's why we don't have that Star Trek table that you're talking about to figure out what your deficiencies are.
Right?
Right.
In a bunker in Arizona someplace. Yeah, they probably do.
Because they're not going to put the money towards, you know, research on things that could actually be helpful like that. All right, so let's see if we can talk about migraine causes, some of the things that could cause migraines. I know a lot of people have been talking to me about having these headaches, and I had one for the last day and a half. I just got over it, and I don't think I did anything differently. I think I've been told that sometimes a food allergy could cause it, so you should write down what you ate for that time, and if it comes back again, you should look for that. But also, there's other reasons, and I'm going to just hear what you have to say about it, because I probably don't know where I'm going with this one.
It's Joe Biden.
Joe Biden is the leading cause of migraines. I like it. That sounds plausible. That's great.
So
that's hilarious.
The body needs omega-3 essential fats in order to produce a type of biochemical called prostaglandin. And if the body doesn't have enough prostaglandin, the body inflammation runs rampant. And so the first thing to consider with migraine, the occurrence of migraines, is a deficiency in omega-3 essential fats. So the recommendation, if somebody is suffering from migraines, would be to do the 90 essential nutrients, right? The Healthy Foundation Pack, which gives them everything that they need, plus additional omega-3 essential fatty acids. And also increase your calcium, because that can also be related. Whenever you see anything that's involved with a constriction of some part of the body, then you have to think of calcium and a magnesium imbalance.
Okay.
And so that's what we would do. I would double down on the calcium, and I would double down on the Prohoba omegas, which is, or the Rosita's cod liver oil,
Okay.
in order to give your body more omega-3s.
Excellent.
It could have been that you were working out too hard and
You think?
threw your nutrients faster than you were putting them back in.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that happening. Sometimes when I've been gone for like a little extra time, I try to go extra hard, and I can see that having happened. But I just was talking to a friend of mine who was asking me questions about his migraine and what I should do, and I told him, I talk to doctors all the time. I'll ask next time I'm on with one of them that would know, because I actually didn't know. And then the very next day, almost like clockwork, I wake up in the morning and I have a massive migraine for the whole entire day after that.
Oh, that's horrible. That's bad news, man.
Yeah. So thyroid health, I guess maybe we could talk about the talented Mr. Selenium in the same breath, I guess, right? Thyroid health, and I think a lot of people that I've talked to, I know one person who's actually another content creator who actually had their thyroid removed. Probably wasn't necessary, but he had all kinds of issues. He was an IT guy, hung around a lot of equipment all day with lots of radiation and things like that. Maybe there was a better way to go about it, but what are your thoughts on that, and what you think of the ways to help your health when it comes to thyroid health?
Well, ironically, thyroid pathology is one of the few things that the Food and Drug Administration got right, but this was back in the 20s probably. Might even been before that, really before the rise of the AMA. So there was an epidemic of swollen thyroid glands, which are collectively referred to as goiter. The thyroid gland is in the throat, and people were having like baseball or softball sized swellings of the thyroid gland. It was an epidemic.
Yeah.
And it was mostly in the Midwest, in an area that was collectively referred to as the goiter belt. And what they did, to their credit, is they figured out that this was happening because of a deficiency in iodine.
Ooh.
That part of the country, there was something going on. I think it might have been the farming methods or something was sucking iodine out of people's bodies rapidly, and or not putting it back in sufficiently. And so everybody got swollen thyroids, because iodine is an essential nutrient for thyroid function. Calcium, right, is an essential nutrient for bone formation, for heart regulation, hormone production. Iodine is an essential nutrient for thyroid health. If you don't have enough iodine, the thyroid swells because it's working too hard. It's working too hard. It's working too hard. It swells up. So they figured it out. And, instead of subsidizing thyroid surgeries for 1 million people, which they could have done, they probably would do today.
Right.
They just put iodine in the salt.
Right, iodized salt. Yeah.
That was where it came from. And people started using iodized salt, and the goiters went away. It's like magic.
It's amazing.
So, and that was a direct, unremembered example of the really extreme importance of nutrients to overall health. Because remember, as far as I'm concerned, there are 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 2 fatty acids for a grand total of 90. Iodine is one. And look what happens when there wasn't enough of just one.
Just that one. Right.
Right. So
these are super important.
Yeah, they're super important.
And just imagine like all the things that you deal with that you've shut your mind off to now, because you just assume that's part of getting older or whatever the case may be. And you could be living such a healthier life, but that you don't even know you could be.
People don't know what they're missing because everybody that they're around is in the same boat. so everybody thinks that, well, the older that I get, the sicker I'm going to get, the worse it's going to get, the more drugs I'm going to need, because look around, that's what happens to everybody.
And that's what everybody else is doing. That's the path that they're following. So,
Well, it doesn't happen to our patients.
right.
So, and this is why the greatest secret in the medical market of the 21st century is naturopathic medicine and this whole notion of mandatory medical nutrition.
So is it just a crapshoot, like whether or not you get a response of hyperthyroid where you start getting really thin, or hypothyroid when you start to put on the weight?
I am of the belief that those distinctions happen because of inherited weaknesses.
Okay.
I think that it's an inherited weakness when people have a tendency to have an underactive or an overactive thyroid.
Okay.
And they are all directly related to nutrient deficiency. I mean, directly related. So, in addition to iodine, the next thing that we consider for us thyroid health is selenium.
Right.
Because selenium is intimately involved with the production of all thyroid hormones and the transformation of the thyroid hormone in one form to a thyroid hormone in another form, which the body needs more of. In order to make this transformation, we need selenium, which is a mineral like calcium. And your body can't make it. The food can't make it. It's either in the soil or it's not. And guess what? It's not. So as time goes by, less and less and less and less and less and less nutrients in food, less and less nutrients in the body, and something breaks. You go to a medical doctor, they have no idea of any of this, and they throw a drug at you, the intention of which is not to cure the problem, but to manage the problem. Which it does, but then you get sicker and weaker and more dependent on the drug, and you need a second or third or fourth drug, and then you need another drug to take care of the side effects of those drugs. And then the last 10 years of your life, if you're alive, and haven't been bankrupted to death, it's a revolving door to the emergency room, because your physical body's a crap show because of all the drugs that are in. And look, don't get me wrong, man.
It's all patches.
Thank God for lidocaine. Thank God for general anesthesia. I can prescribe drugs. Most people don't realize that. Naturopathic doctors can prescribe drugs. In 34 years, I prescribed one antibiotic once, and I wish I didn't do it. But it's not the drug, it's how it's used. It's not the gun, it's how it's used.
All right.
And the way that medical doctors are trained to use drugs.
They're like the root and shoot and toot and text, right?
Bad baby.
All right. So, do we have time to ask about healthy kidneys and maybe dropping people off of dialysis or helping them off of dialysis?
As much as you need, 100%.
All right.
All right. So, I have a story I'll tell you. I have a group of guys that I golf with every Sunday or Saturday, God willing, when it's sunny here. And these guys are all in their 70s, right? But I'm 64. I'll be 64 in a couple of weeks. These guys are all like 10 years older than me, and they're all retired, and it's an interesting group of guys. And one of the guys started to get kidney failure, and his doctor told him he's going to need dialysis. And he's Italian. That doesn't mean anything, but he moved here when he was 10 years old. He was a really hardworking guy, right? Really nice guy, really set in his ways. And I knew he wasn't going to alter his diet. And I knew he wasn't going to commit to taking the nutritional supplements because, hey, I'm on a fixed income. I can't do that, right? Whatever. And medical insurance isn't going to pay for it.
Right.
So he wouldn't do the full Megillah. He wouldn't change his diet. He wouldn't take the medical nutrition. So what the hell am I going to do? I got to do something. So I gave him a bunch of botanical medicines, the intention of which were to support and promote the healthy function of his kidney and his blood vessels, his circulation. And he did it faithfully. That's all he did. He did these botanical medicines every day, 3 times a day, every day, 3 times a day, every day, 4 milliliters, 3 times a day, every day. And every 6 months, he'd go back to the urologist and he'd get another checkup for the kidney. And every time the kidney function increased. Every time the kidney function increased, every time the kidney function increased. And the last time that I talked to him was in September, which is when he had the last blood work, and now he's no longer a candidate for dialysis.
That is amazing.
75 years old, no dietary change, no nutrients. All he did was botanical medicine support, aggressive botanical medicine support for his kidneys and his blood vessels, and he's out of the woods, 100%. And that's the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this type of thing, because we've had lots of people get off dialysis who've been on dialysis. They get off of it; they don't need it anymore because we're able to help them. That's not always the case, but it's happened. Prevention is much easier, but nonetheless. Right. And why does all of this happen? Because your medical doctor would have you believe that you have bad kidneys because you have a bad gene, or because you're getting older, and you don't. You have bad kidneys because your body has run out of the stuff that it needs to keep the kidney healthy, and you're unwittingly eating the wrong food all the time. Mm-hmm. And your kidneys need help. I mean, for goodness sakes, when we go outside in cold weather to shovel the driveway, we don't do that in our bathing suit because the stress of the cold air could hurt the body. We bundle up to guard against that stress. Well, there's things that you can do to bundle the kidney up against the stress of life. There's things that you can do, but your medical doctor doesn't know what they are. And, the dialysis clinics are popping up like mushrooms after a spring rain, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Yeah, my grandfather's in that boat. That's why.
Giant cash cow too, by the way. That dialysis. Giant cash cow.
That doesn't surprise me because the VA has my grandfather on it. Has had him on for the last couple of years. Yeah. That's not a big surprise, though.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the only reason that this happens is because people don't know there's a different way. Why don't they know there's a different way? Because that different way is suppressed. In order to become a licensed naturopathic doctor in the United States, you got to do 4 years pre-med, 4 years naturopathic medical school, and a fully accredited by the United States Department of Education medical school, by the way. Then you have to graduate. Then 1,000 hours of clinical supervision. Then you have to pass national boards. Then you have to pass state boards. Then you have to get a license to practice medicine. Then you have to do 25 hours of continuing education credit every year. It's full-blown primary care medicine, but it's only licensed and regulated in 22 states.
22
Does that
states.
mean that the laws of science change when you cross the state line? No. It's a turf war. It's got nothing to do with the public good. It's got nothing to do with public health. It has nothing to do with medical freedom.
Right.
It has everything to do with keeping the pharmaceutical industry in the number one spot because they do not want the competition.
And why do whole countries, put that form of medicine at its top ranking, most practiced? If it's somehow, it's crossing different continents doesn't change anything either, really. So it's a little strange that here it's just one way or the highway.
And it's really strange, but that's what everybody's grown up with, and that's why it persists, because everybody's been brainwashed to believe that if their medical doctor can't figure it out, nobody can. And I think it's interesting. It was a genius move, by the way, when medical doctors coined the term medical doctor. That should be outlawed. Your medical doctor doesn't practice medicine. Nobody practices medicine. Medicine is a big umbrella under which many different disciplines hang. Your medical doctor practices allopathic medicine. Mm-hmm. They should be called allopathic doctors, and it should be illegal for hospitals to advertise that they practice healthcare because they don't. They practice disease management.
Way big difference. Yeah. So there was a question. The dangers of sugar and maltodextrin, or how that can strip away the nutrients that you so desperately tried to put in your body in the first place. Like, if you're routinely eating something that's high sugar throughout the day, are you crashing your system multiple times a day? Are you stripping the nutrients, or is that just kind of like a little over dramatized that you hear from people who are like, into keto?
No, it's a big bad voodoo daddy.
It is really. Okay.
But it's super misunderstood.
Okay.
because your DNA is made from sugar.
Funny.
Deoxyribonucleic acid is the acronym for DNA. That's what DNA stands for. Deoxyribonucleic acid. The ribo stands for sugar.
Okay.
So when you see the picture of the DNA and it looks like a ladder that's been twisted.
Yeah.
The sides of the ladder are sugar. So ribose. So
gives it a structure.
Yeah, your DNA, your genetic material is made from sugar. You couldn't blink a flippant eye without sugar. Sugar is not the Antichrist. Sugar is the preferred fuel of the human body. When it comes to sugar, the question is, how much sugar are you sucking down? What type of sugar are you sucking down? And does your body have the metabolic ability to handle it?
I'm starting to feel like you're about to tell me that sticking my hand into the cookie dough is not the right way to go about it. So I'm starting to get a little upset here. I might have to change my ways.
You might have to change your ways. Yeah, so we need a certain amount of sugar every day. The worst form of sugar is high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
High fructose corn syrup interferes with a pathway in the brain that lets you know when you're full.
Oh, boy.
So one of the leading drivers of obesity is people eating too many calories. And one of the leading causes of people eating too many calories is high fructose corn syrup.
And that's what they usually use to sweeten sodas, right?
Oh, high fructose corn syrup is everywhere all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, because I have a stepson and he's soda all day long. You know what I mean? But he's also growing, so he's either eating like a horse because he's growing, or he's eating like a horse because he doesn't have a shut-off switch.
Well, it probably could be a combination of both, right?
Right, of course.
And the thing about it is that too much sugar, and I think, then don't quote me on this, right? Something in the last 50 years, I think, or last 100 years, the sugar consumption by the average American has increased like 5,000 times.
Wow.
We eat way more sugar now than we did 100 years ago, like way more sugar, and that's the problem. And also, the human body, guess what? It needs, in order to metabolize sugar, minerals.
So that's what's going to be depleted every time you get sugar in your body.
Well, yes.
Too much.
And if there aren't enough minerals there, the sugar doesn't get metabolized. So instead of the sugar getting sucked up into each cell, which is what it should do, because that's what the cells use to make work, it's the gasoline of all the cells in the body. Instead of the sugar getting absorbed by the cells to do work, it lingers in the bloodstream.
Oh.
When it lingers in the bloodstream, all kinds of bad things happen.
It's toxic,
not the least of which is diabetes.
So, maltodextrin, this synthetic carbohydrate that they don't even have to list as being a sugar sometimes because of their hocus pocus with the packaging. I'm told that's. I mean, is glycemic index all that there is to sugar? I mean, it's not. So a high spike in a. There's other reasons why maltodextrin is bad, right? And I've been told that they put this stuff in even the supplements of some of the supplements and some of the pharmaceuticals because it acts like as maybe not a desiccant, but some kind of like emulsifier. So they use it everywhere in everything that you couldn't even. They don't have to list that as an ingredient half the time.
Yeah, welcome to the not so. I mean, it's completely monopolized medical market controlled by the pharmaceutical industry that's too big to fail, too big to jail.
Right.
They can do whatever the hell they want, and there are no consequences.
Too big to
The
fail.
problem with maltodextrin, the problem with sugar is how much of it are you consuming? Because it's a quantity thing. A little bit here, a little bit there. I don't have a problem with it, but 500 times, 5,000 times as much as 100 years ago. Yeah, I got a big problem with that.
And the thing is you can't really. Sometimes you can't track it because it's tucked away in every little thing, and it's just an accumulation.
That's correct. But you can start reading labels.
Yeah.
And looking for it. That gets boring after a week, but nonetheless.
Yeah, I noticed when you go for like pre-workouts, post-workout, any of the stuff that's already prepackaged with, it's supposed to be a health thing. With whey protein, it's always maltodextrin, lots of sugar. It's
right.
like every single time.
Yeah.
Or some other sucralose, everything. It's always tucked in there.
It's always tucked in, but not in the good companies. The supplement companies that I recommend. The stuff is pretty good. And
Yeah, you have stuff for like actual like fitness type of supplements. Like you have a recommendation for a company for that?
well, what are you looking for? Like a whey protein, like a protein powder?
Just maybe that's something that has L-citrulline in it and just some energy.
Okay, so there was an NBA player who was, before he retired, he was the oldest player in the NBA. His name was Theo Ratliff. He played for a number of different teams. He retired when he played for the LA Lakers, and he won. He led the league in rebounds for years. That was his thing. He was a defensive player. He was the king of rebounds, right? And Theo developed bad joints, and the best orthopedic doctors in the NBA said, "Theo, you're done. You can't play anymore because your hips are too bad, your wrists are too bad. You can't play anymore. You're done." So Theo met Dr. Wallach
Oh, nice.
somehow through a pastor in Atlanta, and started aggressively taking therapeutic doses of the minerals and the vitamins, the 90 essential nutrients, therapeutic doses. He was a big dude.
No.
I met Theo. I came up to like his belly button. He's a giant, right? So he was.
And you're a tall guy. You're a pretty tall guy.
Yeah, Theo makes me look like Danny DeVito. No kidding. But anyway, so Theo, God bless him, was compliant with the program, and 9 months, I think, after they told him he was done, he came back. Not only did he come back, but he led the league in rebounds. The year
Awesome.
after, he led the league in rebounds. The year after that, he led the league in rebounds. And from the time that they told him he was done until the time that he actually retired, he added, I don't know how many millions of dollars to his bank account because of extended contract. And the reason I'm telling you this story is, number one, because he was an athlete and he benefited tremendously from the 90 essential nutrients.
Yeah.
Tremendously. And because of his success with that, he worked with Youngevity to develop a replacement for Gatorade.
Oh, that's actually good. That's just loaded with sugar.
So they
The regular
developed,
one.
I think they went through 5 iterations of all these product combinations, and finally they came up with a recipe that worked. It's called Rebound FX.
I've heard of the rebound. Okay.
And that's
Funny that it would be rebound because they're talking about him. Yay.
Right. That was specifically developed for athletes to take during workout and during competition as a replacement for Gatorade. And there was a very famous basketball player who I'm not supposed to tell you his name, so I won't. But he wouldn't go on the court without it, but they made him put it in a Gatorade ball.
Oh, that's funny.
But because it was a different color than the normal Gatorade, this was back in the day when Gatorade was just yellow. It was after he started doing that they came out with the different colors of Gatorade.
Jeez.
But yeah,
Wow.
it's extremely effective. And if you're a sports person, you should kick those tires and slam those doors because it was specifically developed for that purpose.
Now, the website is riseupintohealth.com.
Well, for the nutritional supplements.
Oh, for the nutritional supplements. Okay.
It's eiffelhealth.com.
Oh, okay. That is still active. All right.
Yeah, and remember, I don't make any money from the sale of the supplements. And Youngevity was set up by Dr. Wallach as a network marketing company. And so there are independent Youngevity distributors all around the world. And the reason that Dr. Wallach set this up, instead of, like a normal vitamin company where you just go online and buy the stuff or go to the health food store and buy it, when you buy a Youngevity product, you can only get it from a Youngevity distributor. And the intention of that was to give people the option of getting their nutritional supplements for free because insurance won't pay for it. So if you are interested, I think it's a $25 membership fee right now. It's $25.
Wow.
You can become a member of Youngevity. And if you turn other people on to the supplements and they purchase them and they feel a difference and they keep purchasing them, you get a percentage of everything that they purchase every month. And you could ostensibly get your nutritional supplements for free, and or make some extra money every month. And that was the reason that Longevity was set up as a network marketing company. But you don't have to become a network marketer. You can just get the supplements. You don't have to do the business. You don't have to turn anybody on. You don't have to do any of that if you don't want to. It's completely optional. But it was genius, I think, on Wallach's part.
Is there 2 tiers? Is there like member and then like wholesale or something like that? There's like 2 different
preferred customer
and then
distributor.
Okay.
And if you get the better price if you're a distributor, right?
Right.
And it's a really great compensation plan. You don't have to buy stuff every month just because you have to. It's not like that. In the wonderful world of network marketing, it's a really great pro distributor compensation plan. And I know lots of people who are making lots of money selling the Longevity nutritional supplements, but more to the point, you can get your stuff for free.
All right.
And that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, right?
Absolutely. Hey, so like 20 years ago, and I don't mean to bring up another company's name, but have you ever heard of Advocare?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was a distributor there for a while, and one of the packs that they had, I actually personally liked. That's why I was getting it. And then they took that active ingredient that was supposed to like boost your serotonin levels out of it, and it made it like an inert product.
Yeah,
and
that's because of FDA pressure.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Advocare, and I'm very familiar with many nutritional supplement companies because remember, that's what my profession does. My profession, we literally, not figuratively, we literally wrote the book on medical nutrition.
Right.
And I've had, experience with more nutritional supplement companies than you can count. And I'm a big cheerleader for Longevity because of my knowledge base, and I understand how the Longevity products were formulated, but more importantly, I see what they do. And you can't argue with results. And, my advice is find a Longevity distributor. My favorite is Eiffel Health. I think you should become a Longevity distributor, talk to the people at Eiffel Health.
Yeah.
And everybody that listens to your show, everybody wins inside of a situation like this, and that's how we're going to do our part to try to change the world here. Because number one, everybody needs this stuff. Number two, nobody knows that they need this stuff. Number three, most people who take it feel better.
Right.
And things change. And like Theo, that was a remarkable change with Theo.
When I feel like sometimes I feel like I interrupted rigor mortis when I woke up in the morning, and I was halfway there every time, So when I've been taking the trace minerals, I can tell you I bounce back a lot quicker. So you start to be able to my bones and everything. I feel better, and then like I've been taking kratom too because I think that's just. It's just the not trying to feel like you're half dead when you're still alive, feeling that I have been the last couple of years. Anything that'll somewhat be mineral, somewhat. What's that?
How much water do you drink?
Probably not enough, but I do. I drink in the form of coffee, probably plenty. In the form of tea, like oolong tea, maybe quite a lot, but not just straight water, unless I'm going to the gym, and then I drink something about this big each time. So.
Oh, really? So you should get into the habit of drinking 4 8-ounce glasses of water a day.
Yeah, and that one 16-ounce glass of water when you first wake up in the morning, I know that I should be doing that, but I don't always think of it to do it because I'm always going straight to the coffee.
Just get into the habit. It takes 21 days to create a new habit. And that can go a long way towards eliminating those, fighting rigor mortis blues first thing in the morning.
Okay. All right. It's the Grim Reaper is like, so close.
It's amazing what we put up with, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we just brush it off as being normal.
Because we don't know any better.
Right. Is there any last final words of wisdom? Any recommendations? Anything you want to direct people to besides the Eiffel Health? I mean,
I mean, shameless self-promotion, right? So,
Of course, please.
so my website, I got two URLs. They both go to the same website, drglidden.com or riseupintohealth.com. Goes to the same website, where you will be pitched a subscription to my online information. And I have a vast library of online information.
Yeah, and what I love about it is you also do a live Q&A
For
every,
2
every
hours,
week.
1 hour twice a week.
Right.
Live.
Well, 1 hour twice a week. Okay, so you get it twice a week.
Yeah, 2 hours a week. I do Q&A for anybody who's a member. But more importantly, I've got all kinds of information there. I get cholesterol myth busting, right? How to detox safely.
Yeah. Stay away from statin drugs, everybody. Stay away from statin drugs.
100%. And I list 88 different ailments that I tell you what I would do if I were you in order to attempt to get on the other side of that ailment, to attempt to stimulate your body's ability to fix itself. And my information, by the way, is not biased by a nutritional supplement company or by anybody. My information on my website is from 34 years of my clinical experience.
And those 88 are actually in your book, right? Those 88 things you've seen people turn around with just nutrition alone.
Yeah, my book is called Attempt to Cure. The online is better because it's more information in the online platform, and there are clickable links that can take you, because you can see the research and whatever, great. If you're one of those guys. Right? Yeah. But the intention of the information at my website is to help to extract people slowly from the medical mousetrap, and to have people start to understand that there are other ways, and they're science-based, they're clinically verified, they're developed and delivered by licensed physicians, that you can do at home. It's like self-help health recovery based on 34 years of Dr. Glidden's clinical experience as a licensed naturopathic doctor, and it's really great information.
And I can tell you this too, guys, if you think you're open-minded to this, and like he's saying, to slowly pull you out of it, your default responses to things when you don't have a clear path as to what to do will still fall back into what you've been used to, which is going to be however the MDs would treat something, or you would go to them for a certain, issue, not thinking, because, I'm open to the idea, great, but what does that mean and what does that entail? So when you get immersed in this long enough, you start to understand that you can change your habits, like he was saying. It takes 21 days, but having that knowledge to know that there's an alternative is the first step. And that's the biggest key there.
The knowledge is the most important thing here, and it's egregiously missing across the board because the educational system has been, fiddled with by the conventional medical doctors. And again, thank God for surgery, thank God for the sterile technique, thank God for general anesthesia. When you need surgery, fantastic, go to a really good surgeon. And then come to see me. I'll tell you what you can do to cut your recovery time in half.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in building health, if you're struggling with a chronic disease and you want to see alternatives that have actually worked in the past, then check it out. drglidden.com, riseupintohealth.com. And I look forward to seeing you on one of my live chats.
Awesome. And guys, there is an affiliate link for Rise Up Into Health that will be in the description of this video. Check that out. All right. Thank you, Dr. Glidden. Thank you for your time once again. It's been always informative, always fun, and I love talking to you.
Yeah, go right back at you. Don't ever stop what you're doing, because people need to know it now more than ever. And thank you very much for the time.
Much respect to you, sir.
Thank you.
So as Dr. Glidden was saying, you can go to Eiffel, as in Eiffel Tower, EIFFEL, health.com, to find the longevity, and it's called the Healthy Foundation Pack 2.5, and that has all 90 essential nutrients in easy to absorb formulations. And then you can click on see all supplements and get the full lineup of products that he offers. And remember, you can become a preferred member or a distributor and get a bigger discount on it as well. Okay? And then riseupintohealth.com /via equals ballbusters, but that link will be in the description. And that is all the information. 34 years of compiled knowledge and wisdom in naturopathic medicine, nutrition, and better health. And here's what's included in your subscription: healthy recovery protocols, medical myth busting information, interviews with medical experts, scientists, and more. See, I like the back and forth between two or more people. I like when people have an opportunity to brainstorm off one another and feed off of each other's lead-ins, and it's exciting to me. Medical myth busting is always fun too, because you get to understand the root problems of them not going after the root cause of illness. And then live Q&A sessions, as we had mentioned, you get 2 hours each week, and they come in the form of 2 1-hour sessions that Dr. Peter Glidden will answer your questions for you. The Dr. Glidden Show, your weekly dose of medical reality, so there's always new stuff added. And then nutritional supplement access, 15% discounts on the supplements Dr. Glidden uses himself. And then you can see the prices. You can try it for a month, 3 months, or a whole year. Get an idea of what it's all about and start watching the videos, and then you'll see what the true value of it, and then you'll be all set to go. All right. And then, of course, with me, you can always go to givesengo.com/ballbusters to help us get the equipment that we will most certainly need moving forward. That way I can do live streaming from the road too, because I think that's helpful to be doing it at the moment as it's happening. I hope everybody got as much out of this episode as I did. It was great to hear from him again. I always enjoy talking with him. He has so much information. He's got a great sense of humor, and it's just fun to talk to him every single time I get a chance to. See you guys next time. Enjoy. And if you don't see me pop back up again before Thursday, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.